Hello! I think I'm at maximum poof level today. If I ever deserved the name the poofy-haired professor, this is certainly a good day for it. So what are we looking at today? In this video, we are going to... What are we going to do? We're going to look at 4 different ways that artists have used creativity in self-portraiture throughout history. Creativity opens endless possibilities, and I'm not saying that these 4 categories are the only ways that you can manifest creativity in a self-portrait, but they are each very important ways, and each one is definitely worth considering. Okay, the first one that I'm going to start with, the first kind of creativity that I want to talk about is called compositional creativity. Well, I'm calling it compositional creativity. It's about composition. Composition. What is composition? It's basically how you compose the various parts of your picture plane. Think of it like they're all just abstract shapes. Think of all the shapes as if they're abstract. How do you maximize the visual interest of these shapes? How do you guide the eye of the viewer through the picture? How do you consider the relationship between the positive space and the negative space? How do you make the composition feel balanced or activated? That's composition, and the more creative that you are in finding interesting compositional solutions, the more creative you're being compositionally. Another kind of creativity is what I'm calling meaning slash symbolism. So not everything meaningful is necessarily symbolic, strictly speaking. But symbolism is definitely dependent on meaning. So I'm presenting these as kind of one category. Sometimes things may feel meaningful without a clear mental explanation of why. Emotional meaning, or things that are meaningful because they remind us of a loved one. Symbolism is often more intellectual, could be more specific, not always. And it's not always necessarily intellectual. It could be spiritual. It could be a lot of different things. You can definitely have symbolism that involves emotions, feelings, and things that are harder to name or put into words. But I just did want to emphasize that meaning and symbolism aren't always the same thing, even though there's quite a lot of overlap. At any rate, a work that feels meaningful or includes symbolism, it's tapping into another capability that art has, which is to function almost like a language in a communicative way. A third kind of creativity is in finding creative ways of making marks. The kinds of brush strokes or pencil marks you make. These movements are often like a signature. It shows the tendency of the hand that made it. We call this style. You can often tell who made an artwork if you are familiar with their style. Another part of this kind of creativity could be what kind of creative media or creative mixes of media do you use? The last kind of creativity that I want to talk about is what I'm calling subtlety slash mood. This is the hardest one to describe. I was looking through these images and I realized that their strength doesn't necessarily hang just upon their composition, meaning, or style. They may have one or more, or even all of the above, but their true strength is that they express something at once powerful but subtle. That is, something that's not easy to name right away. They keep us guessing. You might say they are mysterious in a way. They have a strong sense of mood, often from the lighting, but we're not exactly sure what the mood is. I noticed I have this tendency to put artworks in this category when they're dark. But I also realized that this bright yellow painting by František Kupka is equally moody. It just seems to be a more positive mood. Although the cigarette in his hand tips us back in the direction of wondering about self-destruction, so again, we're not really sure how to interpret it. Like I said, it keeps us guessing. This one also has a very strong composition and style. So I could have included it in either of those categories. A lot of really strong artworks will employ all four of the kinds of creativity that I've been speaking about, all in one artwork. In fact, most of the ones that I've shown you have at least some of the other aspects woven in. Which group I've placed them in is kind of a semi-arbitrary choice, just based on the aspect that I felt stood out the most. Anyway, I hope this helps you to think of some good ideas for ways that you can incorporate creativity into your self-portrait, so it's not just a mugshot, but an actual communicative work of art. See ya next time!